Overcoming Myths and Objections. We'll wait to upgrade until the end of useful life. You know, the concept of an upgrade is perplexing to a lot of people. They somehow think that, wait a second, why would we ever upgrade a piece of equipment before it stops running? Wouldn't that be a waste? Some people have even gone so far as to tell me that my great-grandfather grew up in the Great Depression. We didn't have a lot of money, and he would be rolling over in his grave if we replaced a piece of equipment before it stopped running. My answer is, when you look at the math, your great-grandpap is going to be doing backflips in his grave, because he's going to realize that you're leaving a lot of savings on the table as you're continuing to have this equipment waste money for you. Let's take a closer look at this. Think of the savings you'll be foregoing while you wait for the present equipment to fail. We can do a mathematical example for you in a minute. And does this equipment typically fail in periods of low load or high load? And what happens when it fails at an inopportune time? I'll tell you what will happen. You'll wind up interrupting your operations, which could cause your business, damage. You wind up renting temporary equipment under duress. You'll wind up specifying the quick ship option with rush service. You'll probably pay extra for the shipping, and have a very limited amount of equipment to pick from, because you have to look at the quick ship options only. You'll likely wind up paying overtime labor to replace the piece of equipment. And what else happens when it fails at an inopportune time? Well, probably the worst thing that's going to happen is that you're going to likely maroon further savings for another life cycle of the replacement equipment, since the most efficient models are probably not even stocked at the distributor, much less part of their quick ship program. Okay, so this is a big problem. And when you really look at the math, you realize that you put yourself to a great degree of exposure. You expose yourself to a lot of extra costs if you don't take proactive action and replace it when you realize that a replacement is possible. So here's a little example of what can happen if you wait to do a project, and how it really is false economy to wait. In this particular example, you have two options. Option one is waiting, which would be many people's first choice. So if you wait till 5 years from now to do it, you're going to wind up paying $23,636 instead of $20,388, because you'll suffer 5 years worth of inflation at 3% compounded annually. You also have higher energy costs, about $7,000 higher a year. You also have higher maintenance costs, about $1,000 more a year. When you actually do the math, you find out that the life cycle cost of the first 5 years of this installation, if you wait to do the replacement, is about $130,000. If you were to do it today, it'd be $103,000, almost $104,000. So the difference in price is $26,000 or more. When you compare the difference in price to what the first cost is of doing it today, you'll realize, probably to your astonishment, that the exercise of waiting 5 years to do what you probably should do today resulted in you in having to pay twice the cost of the improvement, and that's on a present value basis. Everything's discounted back at 10%. So you can see here with this very simple example, and there's a live version of this in the resources section of Selling in 6 you can play with. You can see very simply that this false economy of waiting until a piece of equipment breaks to fix it is just crazy talk. I mean, it's when you really do the math, you realize you're going to pay for it twice, maybe even more than twice, if you wait to start enjoying the savings.